We expect our family to be our greatest source of support, but interactions with the people we're related to by blood and marriage often end up feeling like an adversarial minefield of misunderstandings and bickering. Instead of hoping the next gathering will somehow be different, we're going to build a concrete, customized family EQ action plan to untangle this dynamic. To do this, you'll need a pen and a piece of paper. You also need a specific mindset, a willingness to focus entirely on your own reactions rather than blaming your relatives. The foundation of this plan is emotional intelligence, or EQ. In a family setting, EQ means using active awareness and empathy to control how you respond to others. When you know exactly how you feel, you cut off the ability of others to manipulate you with their emotions. If you want your family to accept each other, you have to begin with your own emotional honesty and openness. You shift the burden of change off of everyone else and place it squarely on yourself. Write down the name of one specific family member you find challenging. Underneath their name, write these words: "I will control my emotions. I will not control them." This instruction applies to what you communicate silently, too. Saying loving words through clenched teeth doesn't feel loving to the recipient. It creates confusion and tension. Now look at the name you wrote down. Identify and write out 2 specific, destructive emotional memories you associate with this person. These memories act as active triggers. When tripped, you might catch your 30-year-old self responding with the exact frustration and emotional maturity of a 5-year-old. We also fall into the trap of assuming our family members think exactly like us, or expecting them to stay exactly the same over the decades. To counter that, write down one specific, objective way this relative has changed their life or views in the last 5 years. Clearing out historical baggage and documenting who they are today keeps you grounded. It prevents you from slipping into an exhausting cycle of resentment and crisis management every time you talk to them. If you're dealing with adult children, you'll encounter friction as they wrap up in their own careers and relationships, and the traditional parent-child roles begin to reverse. To navigate this, use an expectation map. Draw a T-chart on paper. On the left, list up to 7 things you want or need from them. On the right, list up to 7 things you believe they need from you. If you're doing this exercise alone, physically move to another chair. Changing your position helps you inhabit their perspective while you fill out that right column. Visually mapping these 2 lists side by side highlights the gap between the support you are currently offering and the support they actually require to feel connected to you. When it comes to your peers, specifically your siblings, the friction usually comes from old, parent-driven rivalries and outdated assumptions about who you both are. To circumvent their defensive reactions, we use an "I feel" script. Write this out and fill in the blanks. When delivering this script, explicitly state that you are expressing your feelings and not asking them to change their behavior. To put this into practice, ask them for help with a specific task that relies entirely on their unique talents. This creates an organic, non-threatening way to reconnect. Extended family and in-laws present a different challenge. You are trying to form family bonds without the deep emotional history required to buffer inevitable conflicts. You have permission to not like everyone equally. You can establish firm emotional boundaries and interact with them only to the extent that you remain comfortable. Part of that boundary setting requires identifying your own passive-aggressive tendencies. Permanently eliminate loaded questions from your vocabulary. Removing manipulative questions and hidden agendas from your conversations protects your own emotional energy. It prevents you from creating a self-inflicted cycle of resentment. Look down at the paper in front of you. You now have a fully completed family EQ action plan. You have identified your destructive triggers, mapped out the expectation gap, prepared your "I feel" script, and set boundaries against loaded questions. Before, you were reacting to family dynamics based on instinct and history. Now you have the capability to respond with deliberate, pre-planned intent. Before your next family gathering or phone call, take a moment to review this physical document to ground yourself. You cannot control your family's behavior, but by replacing reflexive reactions with a planned response, you change the only part of the dynamic you control, yourself. That shift is often the necessary first step toward an entirely different interaction.